Do you often feel like there is not enough time in the day to pick up that book? Do you not allow yourself the time to read? Or do you get distracted often when you finally sit down with a book? This used to be me, and now I read about 8 to 12 books a month. So if you want to find out how to read more, then this video is for you. Today we're going to go through an easy 5-step method that will get us inside and give us tools to start reading or start reading more. I personally work a 9-to-5 job and have other responsibilities besides that. I never allowed myself the time, but also couldn't really see where I had time left to read until I followed these steps, and now I find the time to do everything that I want. If you want to learn more, let's get right into it. Step 1. Get an overview. First and foremost, it's important to know where your time is going now. An easy way to do this is to go to your calendar app and fill out your week. I like to make my non-negotiables like work, sleep, and other responsibilities red, so it starts to look something like this. This might look daunting, but this is the easiest way to find out where your time is going. After I added my non-negotiables, I start adding the fun things. These include upcoming plans or things I want to do but don't need to do, and I make those yellow. Lastly, I add anything that I do on a regular basis but is not a must, like watching Netflix, scrolling on TikTok, watching YouTube videos. I make all of them purple in my calendar. Now, all this might look like a lot of screen time, but I am not lying when I say that I used to have a screen time of about 7 hours each day. I do use my phone for work, but let's say that at least half of that was me just mindlessly scrolling on social media. During this step, you can just be brutally honest, because no one's gonna see this but you. Besides, I am not going to tell you to cut anything out that you don't want to, but for this, we're going to go to step 2. Step 2, freeing up time. Looking at your overview, you might already see some free time, and if that's up to your liking, then you can continue to step 3. But if not, this is a time where we set priorities and find times where we can get ourselves some well-deserved reading time. Looking at my overview, I can see that I spent most of my evenings just looking at screens. I don't want to eliminate this entirely, but I do feel like there is some time that I could spend reading rather than looking at a screen. So I'm going to be planning an hour every day to read before I go to sleep. This way I can wind down before I go to sleep, but I've still had my free time that I'm so used to having. To put this in the overview, I'm going to be making my reading time green. Besides this, I've decided that I don't want to start my day by scrolling through TikTok. So I'm going to be changing that to reading as well. With all these changes, my overview starts to look a little bit more like this. I want to say that it's important to start small. It's difficult to change habits all at once, so to introduce reading, I've given myself 2 rules. 1, an hour before bed, I am going to read to wind down for the day. And 2, every other day after I wake up, I'm going to be reading for 1 hour. This way you are stacking a new habit, reading, on top of a existing habit like waking up or going to sleep. Another way to do this, for example, is when I commute to work, I'll be listening to an audiobook. This way, you're stacking reading or listening to an audiobook on top of something that you already do, commuting to work. Or every morning when I eat breakfast, I'm going to be reading 10 pages of a book. This is another example of stacking a new habit, reading, on top of something you already do, eating breakfast. Habit stacking, in this case, reading stacking, is an easy way to add something new to your daily routine. With our time set, we are ready to look at step 3. Step 3. What should I read? In this time where information is propelled at us from every which direction, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram are full of recommendation videos. But since reading is so subjective, it can be difficult to figure out what you would actually like. There is 2 ways to go about this. If you already kind of know what you like to read, you can look for books in specific genres or including specific tropes. For example, I love reading fantasy and thrillers. So I would look for the best fantasy books or thrillers with the best plot twists, and then I just note down the books whose premise sounds most enticing to me. If you are not quite sure what kind of books you like yet, I would advise you to either go on Goodreads and read synopsises over there, or secondly, go to a bookstore. At the bookstore, you're gonna just be looking at covers that entice you and read the summary on the back. If the summary makes you want to instantly open the book and start reading, that is a book for you. If it doesn't immediately grip you, put it away and look at some other books. We want our reading experience to be the best one ever. And since most of us got turned off reading because we had to read in school, this way you're introducing books that you actually want to read. If you've picked up a book and after all you're just not really feeling it, put the book down, grab a new one and start again. I would highly recommend just not finishing your books if you're not enjoying it. That book just simply wasn't for you, but that doesn't mean that none of them are. This step might take a long time, but don't be discouraged because we're nearing the end of the 5 steps. So before you start reading now, take the next step into consideration. Step 4, remove all distractions. To make it easier for us to fully delve into a book, we're gonna make our surroundings fit that. So locate a spot in your house or in your room that you're gonna fully allocate to reading. For example, if you usually spend your evenings on the couch watching Netflix, your brain is automatically gonna connect sitting on the couch with watching Netflix. So if you're gonna sit there with a book, your brain is automatically gonna send you signals to turn on the TV. It's especially difficult if your partner is watching Netflix and you're sitting there with a book. So find a location anywhere in the house or in the room with as little distractions as possible. For me, it's been this little reading corner that I've created, but before that, I started reading in the guest bedroom. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, turn on some background music, grab myself a cup of tea or another drink that I fancy at the time, and fully wind down to read. If it helps, you can set yourself a timer. If you've given yourself an hour in between other responsibilities, set a timer for an hour and it will tell you when it's time to get back to those other things. This way you're making sure that you're still able to do everything else as well. Now we've finally come to the last step. Step 5, start reading. Now, this step is very straightforward. Start reading at the times that you plan for yourself. If you've decided to start listening to an audiobook during your commute, start doing that. If you've given yourself half an hour before sleep, go start reading half an hour before sleep. It's important though to start small. You can always build on it later on. If you start reading for 3 to 4 hours every day, that is a lot of time and it can actually burn you out. Yes, reading can burn you out. It's more often known as a reading slump. To prevent falling into one, take it slow. You can add time if you want to, but don't set yourself the expectation that you have to read 15 books a month, that you have to read 4 hours a day. It's perfectly okay to just read 1 book a month. It's perfectly okay to read 10 pages a day. And it's perfectly okay to not read all the books that are so-called must-reads. Read at your own pace. Read the books that you want to read. Remember that reading is fun, it's a hobby, and you're doing it for you, not for anyone else. So that concludes the 5 steps that I use to start reading again. Now, if you'd like to hear about some of the books I've recently read, you can click on this video right here. And if this video helped you, I would really appreciate it if you left a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy all things books, and let me know in the comments what book you are gonna pick up first. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one.